Hey Hewitt, Preston here. Just want to take a look at the putting stroke from down the line here, and first working at the finished product. I don't see any issues with the stroke pattern itself or the arc you're working with. What is concerning though would be the total spread of all of these golf balls as far as the distance side of things goes. On a medium distance putt here, looks to be about maybe 12 to 15 feet or so. I'm looking for balls to finish in that 12 to 18 inch window beyond the cup for the most part. The miss short at this distance should probably be somewhere around hole high, and anything hit too hard should probably be no more than 2.5 feet by at the very, very most. So when I see a big spread like this, I start to look at things within the pattern that might be causing some issues there. And you'll see as I zoom in here on your face-on video, and then we put that side by side here with a sample stroke, and we'll kind of get everybody zoomed in nice and neat there so it's about the same size. Want to take a look at the starting position of the putter, and then go forward a few frames to the end of the backstroke. And again, camera's moving around a little bit, so don't quote me on it being too perfect, but we'll go to the end of the backstroke versus the end of the through stroke, and you'll see how much longer that follow through is. It's almost indicative of a pushing motion with the trail arm, and if I were looking to try and create a pizza slice here between the shaft for the backstroke and through stroke, you can see some evident differences in the total size, and much shorter back, much longer on the way through, and that's going to kind of complicate things here from the speed control perspective. I've attached a link to an article slash video that I did some time ago about the accelerating putter head, and I think it'll kind of put some things in a little bit better frame of reference here for you as far as what we'd be more looking for on the even back, even through side of things. Here's a student of mine in Scottsdale when I flew out to work with him, and you can see that by the time he gets all the way through to the finish there, and again, camera moving ever so slightly, but that shape right there is starting to resemble a little bit more of a pizza slice almost. Even size back, even size through, and doesn't look like somebody went to town with the pizza cutter as far as creating that shape that we'd be looking for. So again, I'm going to strongly encourage same size back and same size through with an even tempo. As I start changing the acceleration of the putter head, in your case pushing with the trail side, that's where I start to run into some issues in the speed control department. As long as you're controlling the face well, I think this is your biggest opportunity to and to improve the putting side of things. So again, kind of play around with that. I think if you look at let me pull up a guy like Spieth right here actually, who I happen to have handy. Let's see, got a putting stroke face on of Jordan here that we can kind of take a better look at too. Anytime you can be consistent. And you'll see same size back and through is pretty much the pattern. As you continue to watch the guys on tour from that mid-range from 10 to 15 feet, you're going to find that that's most common. You'll have a couple of exceptions to the rule, but really nothing that I would ever want to that I would ever not encourage somebody to do. I think there's a lot of benefit to managing the speed of the putter head, and this is definitely an efficient way to do that. As far as the short game side of things goes, notice that you mentioned in your message that you're working with the hinge and hold technique, which I think is fine for creating solid contact. I think it can be limiting in some capacities. Notably, your ability to change loft if you need to on shorter pitch shots and manage the trajectory side of things. So again, I'll start with setup here. Still the evident tendency to lean forward, too much at address here. So definitely want to clean that up, get you in a more neutral position, because I think as you bend over a lot with the short game shots, that's going to influence the direction the shaft wants to move during the shot here. And as we take a look at the backswing here on this first chip, you're going to see that club moves pretty far inside the hands at that point, with a lot of rotating of the left arm and the wrist, which kind of puts the club pretty far behind you at that point there. I'd like to see for any sort of pitch shot that club head going right back on the hands or just outside, and then it's a much more vertical shaft. So as you transition there, we'd be looking for instead of the shaft pointed way out here in this part of the world, we'd be looking forward to kind of like the sample swing right here, pretty much staying right on line with the golf ball. And again, a lot of that influenced by setup. I think if you felt a little bit steeper on the backswing, you're also going to have an opportunity to create a lot less face rotation during the downswing and the follow through. You can see how much that face starts rolling over there and pointing to the left in the follow through, while in our sample swing right here, everything's staying pretty neutral, more skyward than anything at that point in the at a relatively similar point in the swing. His exit pattern's a little bit different, but again, really want to make sure that I don't have that face opening and closing a lot. So a couple of easy things there for you to work on the chipping side of things. First, a little bit less forward bend per the usual, and then instead of the left arm getting out and the left arm rolling basically and putting the club head pretty far behind you, we'd like to kind of clean that position up there to get you into a more neutral spot here. Again, club head right on the hands instead of well inside. It's going to be a lot less work for you to do to control the low point and control the face. Lastly, just want to take a look at some of how I kind of view short game and kind of create a process for people to look at things a little bit more effectively. In the chipping priorities here, I'd like to start with crispy contact on the setup side of things, making sure that I've got the ball underneath the buttons on my shirt, a little bit of weight forward bias, and from the face-on view, I like to create effectively a Y shape with the arms and the club shaft. What I mean by the Y shape is sample on the right-hand side here, and we'll pretty much just focus on the guy on the right here. He's got a player's before and after, and you can see how much how well he executes the Y shape right there. Again, the trail arm and the lead arm and the club shaft pointing, forming a very distinct lowercase y, as opposed to something that's a little bit off kilter because he's kind of leaning away from the target here. You can see while it's still a Y shape, a little bit on the lopsided part of things, and you can see the upper body leaning away from the target pretty far instead of getting the weight forward and trying to keep that upper axis a little bit more neutral at the address position. So just a quick frame of reference right there for what the Y shape is. And then similar to your putting, as things come full circle here on the short game side of things, to best control the distance, I want to be managing the size and the tempo of the stroke. I really get a little bit buggy when I see short game shots go from too short back to too long through, or too far back and being forced to slow down or decelerate on the way through. So we'll start with those priorities right there, and then we can continue to dive into the club selection side of things, talk a little bit more about what I do from the shorter distances within 5 steps of the putting green, the process that I think you can go through in order to help create a little bit more predictability around the greens. Always reaching for the most lofted club inside of 5 steps of the green, not always the best decision. I think there's an easier way for you to get the ball close to the hole and not have to do as much work as you're doing right now in some of these pitch shots that you sent me. But all in all, I think you got some pretty easy things that you can work through here on the short game side, and we can continue to clean it up. Again, short game is my specialty, so we can go pretty far down the rabbit hole and get you hitting it really, really well, both around the greens and making sure we get the ball in the hole faster. But so let's start with these pieces right here. Keep them posted on the progress on those, and then we can continue to maybe every other video, depending on the full swing progress, work in the short game stuff and continue to build for you here, Hewitt. But all in all, good stuff so far. Keep them posted on the center face contact drills with the irons, and let's see where we are. Thanks a lot, and look forward to chatting again soon.